Hello everyone, Denise here. Today I'm going to dip dye this crocheted hat in some food coloring. Let's get started. So I used this yarn. It is called Red Heart Chic Sheep by Marley Bird. It is 100% superwash wool. It is 3.5 ounces or 100 grams, 186 yards or 170 meters. I used the entire ball of it. The food coloring I used is Wilton icing colors. They are concentrated gels, and I used the color violet. I used 1/4 of a teaspoon, and I dissolved it in the water. Prepared 8 cups of water and a 1/2 cup of vinegar, and then I dissolved the 1/4 teaspoon of the food coloring into the water until it all dissolved, which took a while, and at the same time I was warming up the pot of water. I soaked the hat and the pom-pom I made in some pre-soak, and then we're going to start dip dyeing because we have a good simmer going. I'm just holding it with a pair of tongs, and I am slowly dipping it into the dye bath. It's so fun to watch this just come alive with color. The color of this yarn's base is called lace. It's like a creamy color. It's not a white, it's a creamy off-white. And this is superwash yarn, so it pulls the color up immediately, and you can already see it breaking. You can see the food coloring separating on the head as I'm dipping it. It's fun to watch. The pattern that I used for the hat is my gorgeous basic beanie pattern. And I can link that in the description below if you'd like that. This whole process probably didn't take more than, I would say, 10 minutes to get this dip dyed. It does not take long once you get everything ready to go. As you can see, the purples are grabbing onto the yarn fibers. The purple-red color absorbs first when you dye anything. It just strikes quicker than everything else. And then the blue in it is when it breaks. So the components of the food coloring has different colors in it, and once it hits a certain point, it will break and the color will be blue in the water. So just waiting for that to happen. So I'm slowly dip dyeing it in the bath, trying to get the bottom of it as dark as I can because I thought that would have the nicest effect. And you can already see the blue starting to drip off of the hat. See, like right here, you can see that blue. But there's still a lot of the red pigment left in there, the red purple pigment. So I keep dipping it in so that I can get as much of that purple into the bottom of the hat that I can, so that the top of it can turn out blue. But you can see the water is really turning blue. It's almost done with the purples here. I can tell I have way too much dye in my bath at this point. But that's okay, because I have more yarn that I can throw in there. I have to readjust every single time because the hat is getting very heavy as I dip dye it. So you can see the blue creeping up into the fibers now of the yarn. And I know it's about time to be done, but I know there's also still some purple left in there. So when there's purple left over in the dye bath, if you were to drop the entire hat in at this point, it would absorb all that purple if you just left it. And that's not the effect I'm going for. You can see the blue coming off the bottom of the hat when I pull it up, which means primarily there's mostly blue in the dye bath at this point. But I know there's more purples because as I pull it up, I can see the reddish color striking the hat still. So I'm just going to keep dipping it into the dye bath, slowly trying to absorb all of the color that I can. This yarn has a tendency to strike on the outside quickly, like a glazing. From experience, I know this. So I know I have to sort of work it into the dye bath to get all of the fiber colored. I don't want there to be white when I am wearing the hat, you know, when it pulls open a bit, stretching. I don't want there to be white. So I do want to make sure that I soak up as much of that dye as I can. I did a similar dye bath before with some black food coloring, and that was not a finished project like this. It was just some yarn, and it turned out so gorgeous. I didn't record that. It was just something I did on a whim, and the black color broke all over on the hat, and there was speckles and purple, and it was so beautiful. I loved it. So I should try to recreate that as well, because that was very fun. So I keep noticing that the pot is turning blue, that the reds in the dye bath are leaving. And you can see there that it is now almost all blue in there. I do think there is still some more purple red pigment in there, but I do have to eventually just, you know, give it up and drop it in. So I want the top to be blue, and as you can see, the dye bath looks like it is completely blue. And this is the pom-pom that I made for the hat with the rest of the yarn that was left over. I'm sort of wiggling it around in there. As you can see, there is purple on that pom-pom, so I knew there was still some pigment left in there. It wasn't just blue left. And so at this point, I decide, instead of leaving it in the dye bath and letting it cool, I'm going to go ahead and let it sit for a minute, and then I'm going to pull it out so that I don't absorb any more of the purples, because I want that blue to stay blue at the top and on the pom-pom. I'm going to take the hat and the pom-pom, microwave it for 4 minutes to make sure that color stays. And then look at all of this color I have left. It is so pretty. So I am going to throw some yarn in there. I'm taking another ball of the Red Heart Chic Sheep by Marley Bird. It is dry. I'm not pre-soaking this, and I am just going to push it down into the dye bath until it absorbs all of the dye. Just slowly wiggling it in, trying to get all of the fibers wet so that the dye can strike the strands of yarn throughout the entire ball. And I'm going to leave this in the pot until it cools off. So it's going to be a good 10 to 15 minutes. I will leave this on a medium heat, and then I'm going to let it cool, and I will show you the results in a little bit. this is the yarn once it has cooled in the dye bath. And this is the finished hat laying in a pan drying. This is the pom-pom. I absolutely love this effect. It is so much prettier in person than it can be captured on film. If you gently pull on the hat, you can see blue underneath in the crevices of the stitches. It is really a cool effect in person. Pull it apart a little bit here so you can see. See how that blue underneath? That is so cool. So this took a while to dry. I put it in front of a fan. I did wash it after it had cooled off in a clear soap, and the water ran clear. All of the dye had absorbed. And this is the pom-pom. See how the color even broke on the pom-pom? I love that. So this is next day. I'm outside trying to take some pictures to show you that blue underneath there. So pretty. It's kind of hard to show you with one hand. There you go. You can see that blue underneath. Love this. I'm going to do this again 100%. Really enjoyed this. I love doing the finished project in a dye bath. It feels more satisfying to me than just creating some yarn, because everything's done. And here's the pom-pom. See how there is that blue underneath? I love it. And that is the finished, the sponge, so to speak, of my dye bath sitting next to it there. It turned out gorgeous as well. A lighter blue on the inside and darker on the out. This is the top shot of the hat. And this is the finished hat on the side view. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed making it. I will be making more. I do appreciate all of you watching, subscribing, liking, and commenting. Get into the giveaway. It is going to be open now until the right around the end of the month. So until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, stay crafting, and take care. Bye.